Hi everyone and welcome to Holographic Health. We are now at episode number 12 with Simon and Kate, and we were going to kick off the discussion today just talking about what's been going on lately energetically in the world. And I was just saying to you, Simon, before that I feel like there's just this sudden expansion and release of energy that seems to be going on. And you'd said, you'd mentioned a bit of stagnation the last couple of months, but then this great analogy of it's like someone's pulled an elastic band back and let go. And you and I are over the other sides of the world from each other. And I said, yes, like that's exactly how I'm feeling. So I thought that might be a good place to pick the conversation back up from, and what you've been noticing and how I've been feeling with things over here as a place to start from.
Yeah. So, I mean, at a very strictly kind of personal level, the last couple of years, 2020, 21, extremely challenging, without any doubt at all. And towards the end of last year, around the solstice, and then through basically till very recently, till the end of January, early days of February, there was this real inertia, real feeling stuck. It's like, like trying to move through treacle, and time just like really slowed down as well. Yeah, for me, at an emotional level, I was kind of going into some very kind of deep, dark places. So which at the time was extremely painful. And then, yeah, like you were saying just then, it's like that elastic band just got to its breaking point. It's like for 2 years, that elastic band has been pulled back and back and back and back and back and back. And then suddenly it's like the beginning of February, it was finally released, and it's just like all that inertia has gone, and it's like, there's just like so much energy. And I feel that at a very kind of personal level, like suddenly feeling really joyful, really optimistic and creative, and, really open-hearted, and, and all the kind of, positive qualities of the human experience. And then, of course, in the collective, we're seeing that mirrored as well, and we were talking about, particularly for you in England, how there's just suddenly been this huge shift, because there's been that pushback that was building and building against the kind of, the draconian measures around, around this kind of pandemic situation that have really built and built and built as that elastic band's been pulled back. And then suddenly they're just gone, and, life's just suddenly speeding up and accelerating again, and then time is just suddenly speeding up, something I've been noticing so much is that kind of, that kind of subjectivity of the experience of time as well. That's something that I've been noticing a lot at the moment. So yeah, that's just kind of been, and then I suppose so I think, our channel here is holographic health. And of course, each of us is a holographic piece of the whole of humanity, and I know I forget it sometimes.
I do too.
Yeah, we forget that, and we think we're the only one having these experiences, and of course, because that we are awareness and we are consciousness, and we're experiencing that through this single point of being and identifying with being an individual person. That's kind of, you know, what the human experience is about. So, which in a way makes us intrinsically narcissistic, like everything's about us
About
and
me.
the whole world. Yeah, everything's about me, because that is our perspective. You know, it's like we're playing this virtual reality game like this, and everywhere we look is just from our perspective, and it's all about us. And of course, from a spiritual perspective, I think what the last couple of years have been about is more moving from that kind of duality consciousness into a much more unity consciousness. And it's not just about me, not just about I, but it's about us and it's about we. So I feel that there's been a real shift, well, I'm experiencing anyway, you know, from that kind of identifying with I to we, and really realizing that what I'm experiencing is very much connected to what the collective is experiencing.
Yeah, I so resonate with that. And there's a couple of little things that you said that jogged a few thoughts. And I also experienced a very similar thing, you know, over sort of, you know, from solstice, December into January. It's, you know, very short days where I am quite dark. There was a lot of fear around December because of everything that's going on at the moment, and everybody seemed to be getting COVID and all that kind of thing. But actually it was this sort of, when you say about the elastic band, I almost feel like there was all this pressure, and it seems like that's just released. And, you know, with a lot of pressure, you get diamonds and beautiful things that sparkle and shine. And I feel like there's that sort of thing going on here. And it was actually, you know, you and I were talking about lots of positives that come out of these situations that we feel are really tough at the time. And what I noticed was that a lot of the mainstream narratives started to shift in that space, because people realized, well, I mean, over here anyway, nearly everybody had COVID or a flu or some kind of version of that, and realized that, well, I'm actually fine and I've got an immune system, and hey, I better just look at my health now. So I've seen a shift in the narrative of like, oh, actually, I'm going to start focusing on things that are really healthy for me, really nourishing. And these sort of diamonds popping out all over the place, and these new ways of connecting, like you said, and realizing that we need other people, we need community, and connecting and reaching out, and building these communities that didn't exist before. Like a lot of people I know, homeschooling, learning new skills, finding the joy of having their children at home, and being there for all those moments that they were maybe missing before. And also something you made me think about in terms of time, and that being quite subjective. I've had that similar experience where it just seemed like the days are long and time is slow, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, did someone press fast forward on my life? You know, press the fast forward button.
Yeah.
Which of course they haven't, but it's just my perception of time. And that often makes me think of, you know, people say, well, life's really short. And I don't think life really is short. It's just our perspective of things. And, you know, if you ever go on your first ever juice detox, those 7 days or 5 days can feel really long, really long. So it's so subjective, our experience. So I resonate in terms of that, you know, taking those blinkers off of me and I, and what's actually going on around me. And I think one of the things I've really appreciated to come out the last couple of years is that I've been able to hold my own narrative and appreciate somebody else's that are often polar opposite. And so it's been a real learning experience to take the judgment away, or I don't agree, or that's not right, and kind of go, hang on, you know, to that, I'm not that person and I didn't have the experiences that they had. So if I were them, maybe I would think like they do. And I've really gone on a journey with that. And it doesn't mean that I have to agree, but I can stay in my narrative and the things that I believe in, also understand somebody else. So that's been a big one for me the last couple of years.
Wow, I mean, there's so much that you kind of shared there, and you know, the conversation now could go in so many directions from that. Yeah, I mean, I think what I'll pick up on there is how I love the analogy of the diamonds. I think that's fantastic, and how, you know, diamonds are born out of intense pressure, aren't they? You know, both at a personal and a collective level. And yeah, I think I'd like to kind of go there with the conversation right now, because there is so much that has been born out of the pressure of the last couple of years. Not least in kind of communication and the way that we communicate with each other. And I know for myself that I find myself now being part of truly international communities of people that I have never met other than, you know, online, and really, you know, really significant relationships. You know, I'm really kind of connecting with like-minded, like-hearted people in ways I never did before, and sharing, you know, knowledge and wisdom and experience. And you know, that's really, really magnificent. And as you also pointed to as well, that, you know, the being forced to stay home has given us the opportunity to appreciate our home and our families more, but also because of our innate need to connect with people, we found these ways to connect online with each other. And yeah, and for, you know, for me, that's not very natural at all. I'm not a techie person. I have a tendency towards being quite introverted and isolated as well too. So that's been a real kind of revelation for me, which I'm really enjoying and really appreciating. And then and another thing that you said that I totally would agree with is how there's a new perspective towards health are starting to blossom. And, you know, I think this is, in a way, this is where you and I have kind of first met, our shared passion for health sovereignty and natural approaches to health. And what we mean by health sovereignty, if there's anyone listening that isn't necessarily familiar with that, is really just taking responsibility for our own health. And I think what happened in early 2020, and it caught just about all of us out, was this belief that there's some kind of health scare that was like, you know, threatening to
at the end of time, wasn't it?
End of time, this Armageddon type thing. And it caught me for about maybe 2 weeks. I would say about 2 weeks. And then within 2 weeks, I knew that that wasn't actually the case. And then I got booted off Facebook for promoting natural immunity. Yeah. So, which was obviously a telling sign about the kind of and the agenda that unfolded to get everyone vaccinated. But I think you were sharing, I don't know if you were sharing this after we started recording or before, but people that went along with that for quite a long time, it's like, okay, there's a dangerous threat out there. I need to isolate myself. I need to take precautions like wearing masks. And then you're told you need one vaccine, then you're told you need two vaccines. And then, hey ho, guess what? I still got flu this winter, you know? And you know what? I'm absolutely fine, you know? And I think that journey, you know, and there was those amongst us that from day one were like, or as I say, for me, 2 weeks into it, like, well, actually, this doesn't bother me because if there is something out there, I've got a natural immune system. I'll deal with it, you know, and I'm in great shape. I'm in good health, you know. But for those who, you know, understandably, absolutely zero judgment there, understandably, you know, we're kind of drawn into that mainstream kind of narrative and thought it best to take precaution, to realize ultimately that actually that is completely unnecessary, you know, because they're going to get, if you're going to get the flu, you're going to get the flu, whatever that flu is called. We've been getting flu since the beginning of time, and we're going to continue to get flu. Both you and I are great followers of Dr. Zach Bush, and he summed this up. I remember listening to him back in 2020 when everyone was trying to really kind of get their heads around what is COVID, and you know, and for me, he kind of captured it so perfectly and succinctly. And he explained that the flu is a natural cyclical detox that we all go through. Now, both you and I know a lot about detox. And we know that what we call the flu is really the symptoms of detox.
It is.
It's the fever and the runny nose and the sweating and the sometimes vomiting, you know, and the headache, and lethargic. And you know, I've got a document that I give to every single person that comes to the retreat center here to do a detox, which gives them a list of the symptoms that they're likely to experience in the first 3 to 4 days of detox. And it may as well also be called in brackets flu symptoms, because it's exactly the same. So we go through this if we have allowed during the year our toxin levels to build, then what happens in the winter, particularly in the northern hemisphere, is the leaves fall off the trees, there's less oxygen, more carbon dioxide, and that tips the balance of our toxicity, and the body goes, right, time to detox. Yeah. That's it. And this is the seasonal flu, and it happens the same time every single year. Time. It's not contagious. It never has been and never will be contagious, because of this holographic nature of humanity, because we're all interconnected. Contagion is not spread through the air, these little microparticles. That's not contagion. Contagion is a quantum interconnectedness of us all. That's the contagion, you know? And no piece of fabric over your mouth is ever going to prevent that quantum communication of information between us, you know? And so if during that kind of 12-month cycle, you've done some kind of annual cleanse at a detox center like our detox center here, or like the kind of cleanse that you and I facilitate online with our clients, then you're not going to get that flu. So another way of describing that is you've boosted your immune system. Actually, we all have an immune system. It's there all the time. But if it's got too much to handle, it kind of gets overloaded, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're kind of constantly doing that work to keep those kind of toxicity levels within a manageable amount, then your immune system can deal with it. And one of my concerns with the jabs that have been related to this, to this kind of COVID flu or coronavirus flu or whatever you want to call it, is that the jabs themselves are very toxic. And that really deeply concerns me. And so it concerns me the longer term damage that has done to people's immune system. But having said that, you know, we're extremely resilient and adaptive beings, you know, and I don't go along with all the doom and gloom about that. I mean, I've chosen not to take them, you know, because I just haven't felt it necessary. It's been you know, from a health perspective, it's been a little bit inconvenient, you know, because of some of the restrictions. But I kind of felt that on balance, well, you know, if my life's going to be inconvenience, then so be it. But, you know, what I really strongly recommend for anyone that falls into that camp, and as I say, no judgment, completely understandable, of, do you know what, I'm going to go along with the protocol that's recommended, you know, by the kind of health authorities, etc., you know, and maybe now is starting to question that, is like, okay, now is the time to detox more than ever.
Yeah.
More than ever. You know, let's get whatever is in those jabs that is toxic. There's a lot of heavy metals in them. You know, let's get them out. Let's get your natural immune system back into optimum working order, you know, so that next year or next time there's a new wave of whatever, then, you know, then you're going to be fine with it. And you're not going to need to take more jabs to protect you, which obviously, I think a lot of people are realizing, obviously, are not actually that effective. Arguably, they have the opposite effect. And so rather than getting caught up into that, it feels like, you know, once you're into that kind of system of vaccination, that you become dependent on it, because your natural immune system becomes so compromised that you have to stay with that program, just to kind of stand any chance of staying reasonably healthy, you know. And so before you get into that too deeply, I think there is the opportunity to get out of that, detoxify the system. Let's get back on top of the, you know, immune system, and go forward from there and get into that health sovereignty. So just before I finish off with this, I love our conversations because we never know where they're going to go. So just to kind of finish off here, I think part of what comes with that, and people are realizing, is that actually, can we depend on the authorities? Do they know what's best for us? Do they have our backs? You know, and I think we're both seeing people who have historically believed that, you know, whether it be governments or you know, kind of health institutions, and the people involved in those, even education systems, etc., where, you know, understandably, so many of us have actually given them the responsibility of taking care of us, thinking that they have our best interest at heart. And, you know, maybe kind of questioning that and really starting to see the need to take back that responsibility. And, you know, and one area that is really close to both of our hearts is with food, like the whole food supply. You know, let's question that. And I know, you know, this is nothing new. People have been questioning that. But again, that has been very kind of alternative. And I think, again, that's coming much more into the mainstream as well. And it has to be. If we're going to really take responsibility for our own health, then what we eat is absolutely fundamental to that. As you know, both you and I know. So I think I'll kind of leave it there and pass that over to you. And
yeah, I mean, I love our conversations too, because we could just keep talking, go in lots of different directions, but I know we're pretty much at time, so I'll round it up and close it out.
Yeah.
I think it's a great place to end, because what I'd suggest is that if you tune into our next episode, we can actually cover like how to do that, because you might have been listening to us now and thinking, well, how do I take sovereignty over my own health? What if I've had the vaccination? What does that mean? And I think it's the 2 points I just wanted to close out on was that even if you have followed the advice and you've taken vaccines and you've done whatever, and it's okay if that doesn't feel good to you anymore, you can change your mind, you can make a different choice. And because I know some people have kind of gone, well, but I've gone down this path, and we can always choose a different thing. And if you feel like this doesn't make sense to me anymore, I really want to start taking responsibility for my own health, and I want to look at how I can do that. Simon and I love helping with that kind of thing. And just the piece that you were talking to about, you know, toxins and building up toxicity and things that might be in vaccines and that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be a scary process to detox. It can be small little choices that you make every day that make a difference. So just wanted to leave you with that, and that you can reach out to either of us. I'll put our contact in the notes, but yeah, I thought nice place to round out, and that perhaps next session we could cover, you know, how do people go about doing that?
Yeah, that is, no, it does feel like a good place to finish, though. You know, even the few things that you said just now in rounding off, I'd love to expand upon. I think the thing that I'd like to add here is to let people know that Kate and I are in the process of developing some protocols that we are going to be able to offer you, that you're going to be able to implement in terms of detoxing yourself. And these are going to be something that you can do at home, or, you know, wherever you are individually, but also within a supportive group, which is facilitated by both Kate and myself, because I think just to kind of underline something that I said earlier that has happened for me, and this is what we want to bring to the table as well too, over the last year or so particularly, has been this opportunity for us to really connect with each other as a multinational family and community. And that's what this is about, building and supporting each other. And you know, like you were saying just right now, Kate, it's okay to change direction. We don't need to get polarized into being pro this or anti that, and hating against each other because we're in different camps. And this is that kind of divide and rule tactic that has been used and weaponized against us for so long, whether it's our color or our race or our religion or our political beliefs or our, you know, our choices now against whether to take one route in terms of our health or another route. You know, we're still all one family of humanity, and we can still respect each other's differences within that, and we can still love each other, connect with each other, and support and love each other, you know. And you know, again, holographic health, it's about each of us being a representative, can't say that word. Each of us representing the whole.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to say any more on that. I could do, you know, and then we'd be here another hour or so. But I'm just really very much looking forward to being able to offer these, and we'll be doing that soon. But as you say, Kate, in the meantime, please, if you feel that either or both of us that you'd like to connect with us, you know, either of us, both of us would be very happy. No commitment at all. Just if you feel like you'd just like to even a call and a private conversation, it would be an absolute pleasure to do that. Okay.
Absolutely, thank you. And I think I'll just close out with just one comment about just an invitation in your life in today or next week or next month to just think about what would love do. If you get stuck in a decision, what would love do? So I would leave you with that.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you, Kate. Thank you.